What caused the Roman Empire to collapse? The Roman Empire at its height stretched from the deserts of Egypt to the misty hills of Britain, from the Atlantic coast of Spain to the sands of Mesopotamia. It was a marvel of engineering, military might, and political organization. Yet, by the 5th century AD, the Western Roman Empire was gone, its cities sacked, its provinces lost, and its emperors reduced to pawns of foreign warlords. So what happened? The truth is, Rome didn't fall for one single reason. It crumbled under a combination of pressures, political, economic, military, and social, that slowly eroded the empire from within while enemies pressed from without. Political instability, one of the biggest problems, was the constant change of leadership. From the 3rd century onward, Rome saw a dizzying number of emperors, many ruling for only a year or two before being assassinated or overthrown. The infamous crisis of the 3rd century, 235 to 284 AD, saw more than 20 emperors in just 50 years. With no stable leadership, long-term planning collapsed, and the empire lurched from one crisis to another. Economic troubles. Rome's economy was built on conquest. As the empire stopped expanding, the flow of wealth and slaves slowed. Meanwhile, maintaining vast armies and infrastructure drained the treasury. Heavy taxes crushed farmers and merchants, while inflation devalued currency. By the late empire, the silver content in coins was so low that they were almost worthless, undermining trust in trade. Military overstretch at its height. The empire's borders stretched thousands of miles, and defending them required a massive army. From the Rhine and Danube frontiers to the deserts of the Middle East, legions were constantly on alert. This overstretch meant that when one area was attacked, troops had to be pulled from another, leaving gaps for enemies to exploit. Rome's enemies, Germanic tribes, Persians, Huns, grew bolder as the empire's response weakened. Barbarian invasions from the late 4th century onward. Waves of migrating and invading tribes battered the Roman frontiers. The Goths, fleeing the Huns, were admitted into the empire, but soon rebelled, defeating a Roman army at the Battle of Adrianople, 370 AD, a disaster that killed Emperor Valens. Over the next century, Vandals, Visigoths, and Ostrogoths carved up Roman territory. In 410 AD, Alaric's Visigoths sacked Rome itself. The first time in nearly 800 years the city had fallen to a foreign enemy. Reliance on mercenaries. As Roman citizens became less willing to serve in the army, the empire relied increasingly on foreign mercenaries, often the same barbarian peoples threatening their borders. These soldiers could be skilled, but their loyalty was often to gold rather than to Rome. In some cases, they turned on their employers when payments fell short. Social decline. Many Roman writers believed moral decay weakened the empire. They lamented that citizens had become more interested in luxury and spectacle than in duty and service. The old civic spirit that had fueled the Republic, a willingness to serve in the army, vote, and hold office, gave way to apathy among the masses. Division of the empire. In 285 AD, Emperor Diocletian divided the empire into eastern and western halves to make it easier to govern. The Eastern Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, thrived with its capital at Constantinople. But the Western Empire, poorer and more exposed to invasions, became the weaker half and ultimately collapsed in 476 AD when the last Western Emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed. The plague. Rome's population suffered repeated outbreaks of deadly disease, including the plague of Cyprian in the 3rd century and the plague of Justinian in the 6th. These pandemics killed soldiers, farmers, and workers, undermining both the economy and the army's strength. Corruption and inefficiency. Bribery, nepotism, and inefficiency were common in the imperial administration. Corrupt governors and tax collectors drained resources, while bureaucratic red tape slowed responses to crises. The result was a government that was expensive to run, but often failed to deliver stability. The final blow. By the 5th century, the Western Roman Empire was a shadow of its former self, dependent on barbarian generals, bankrupt and politically unstable. In 476, a Germanic chieftain Odoacer deposed Romulus Augustulus and declared himself ruler of Italy. The Eastern Roman Empire survived for another 1,000 years, but the western half was gone. Legacy of the fall. The fall of Rome wasn't the end of civilization. In many ways, it was the beginning of medieval Europe. Roman laws, language, and culture influencing kingdoms that rose in its place. But the collapse remains one of history's most powerful lessons. Even the greatest empires can fall, not with a single blow, but from 1,000 cuts over centuries.